we are getting close to the end of the year, and I feel like it's like scramble time a little bit, trying to like finish some things, get some things that we've been planning all year, get that done. But I'm super excited to be here to talk to y'all about my number one tip on how student athletes can get started with NIL. So, um, let me introduce myself. My name is Angelica McDonald. I am an attorney. I am a sports agent. I'm an NBA certified sports agent. That's still actually, I've been certified since February, so it's still like really interesting to say that. But I am, because it's been a dream of mine for a really long time. So I'm an NBA certified sports agent. I am a former athlete. I've been playing sports my whole life. Um, I come from a long line of athletes as well, talented athletes. And then also I'm an entrepreneur. So I have my own law firm. I have a few businesses. I just launched the NIL Collective September 1st. Shout out to Rise HBCU. So I got my hands full right now, but I'm a lot of things at this point. But yeah. So welcome to my live. Welcome to getting to know me a little bit more about what I do, what services I offer, just tips I have, the like. So the reason why I'm doing this live is because one of the reasons why I'm doing this live is because I talk to college athletes all the time. I talk to my kid. I call them my kids. I talk to my kids all the time about NIL. So I see their struggles. I have people reach out to me. I just had a meeting on Monday, talking with a high school athlete actually. But I talk to student athletes all the time about NIL, and I see their struggles. So to me, it is, my job to make sure that I'm addressing and providing solutions for those struggles, because this is like my passion. Student athletes are, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is like really helping student athletes with NIL. And if you don't know what NIL is, that is name, image, and likeness. We all have name, image, and likeness rights. Regular people have name, image, and likeness rights. But college athletes had not been able to capitalize off their own name, image, and likeness rights for a very long time. And it got to a point where, NCAA kind of hands were tied. And last year they started to be able to monetize that. So now that that's a new opportunity for college athletes to make money, high school as well, depending on the state that you're in. Student athletes are able to do endorsement deals. They're able to start like podcasts, do camps even. I mean, there's like a lot of things you can do with your name, image, and likeness. But because like with student athletes, this is a new thing. I mean, starting a business as a regular person, like an adult, is already hard enough. So imagine like being a young person and not really having the guidance and the business acumen to really like putting themselves out there and get started. So, why is getting started with NIL important? So one of the reasons why getting started with NIL is important is because it is projected to be $1 billion industry in year two. We're in year two. Year two started July 1st. $1 billion. Last year one was 500 million. This year is projected to be $1 billion. $1 billion is a lot of money, y'all. It's a lot of money. So why should a student athlete not be a part of that? Why should a student athlete not be able to tap into that industry, tap into some of that money? Even a fraction of $1 billion, even a fraction of $1 billion is more than most people make, in a year, couple of years, right? So students don't, and I say that it's important because student athletes don't really have a whole lot of time to make money other ways. A lot of times they don't have time to work. They don't have time to get job experience or career experience, do internships. So to me, this is a way for them to like basically supplement their income in ways that they hadn't been able to do before because of their time constraints and their responsibilities and the obligations they have being a student athlete. So, and not only that, like it's important because if you're not getting, like, if you're not engaging in NIL, which I will say NIL is not for everybody. Like, there is effort that you have to put into it. There is time that you got to make with anything, especially like being a student athlete. They already know what it takes to be great and be a great athlete if they're playing, in high school or college, right? But it takes work. It takes work. But if you're not engaging in it in some type of way, in your own way even, you're missing an opportunity to create a lasting brand, to make money, to jumpstart a career that you love, to possibly be debt free. If they went to school, they might be a student athlete who has like a partial scholarship, and they may not have had the money to pay for their full tuition or their college expenses, to be debt free. That money that they can make can help pay for their education, start a business, extend their reach. But one of the biggest things, and something one of my athletes talks about a lot, is making an impact on the world in a positive way, and using their positioning as a student athlete to do that. And then I feel like that's a whole nother live for a whole nother day, because I can do a whole live on just that topic right there, right? So they're missing the opportunity to do that. And then the things that come from being like engaging, they also have an opportunity to build skills while doing NIL, like learning business acumen, working on their communication, making connections and networking in the area that they want to get into as a career. Receiving accolades and awards outside of academics or sports. Because one thing that a lot of student athletes, for a lot of them, their identity is wrapped completely in sports. And it's hard, especially like when you see like career ending injuries and stuff like that. Their whole identity is wrapped into being an athlete. And they don't really know much about themselves outside of that. Now, this is for some. So this gives them a chance to really kind of like expand their scope, expand their thinking, and get prepared for the future. So one of the reasons that student athletes are having challenges getting started with NIL is they're scared. Fear. 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 They're scared to fail. They're scared to take the first steps. They're scared to do something new. Because this is something new with college sports, and it's ever growing. Like, NCAA is constantly changing the rules up, clarifying the rules. The states are constantly updating their legislation. And the federal government, they've been trying to, like, it's been talks to them talking about they're gonna do some federal stuff, but I don't believe it's gonna happen no time soon, honestly, because there's a lot more pressing things than student athletes being able to make money off of things that regular people can do. But I digress. They're scared to do it by themselves. So a lot of athletes, they're involved in team sports. There's some that are individuals, but most of them, even if they're individual, if they're playing in school, they are playing with other players, involved with other players. So even if they are in an individual sport, they still have people around them. But NIL is something that you basically, like, it's about you. It's about you and your brand, right? And they're scared of that. They're scared of that. They're scared of the unknown. Because what if I do this and I don't know what's gonna happen? I might blow up, I might not. Right? That unknown, that area that we can never project, that an area that we can never like forecast, that's scary. And they're scared of doing something wrong. What if I don't do this right? What if I don't do this right? Whatever, it's a lot. So my solution, my number one tip, my first step. People probably gonna be like, what? So my number one step, with all that being said, my number one step is to get started. And I know you're probably thinking, Angelica, what? Your number one tip on how to get started with NIL is to get started? Yes, it is. It is. That is my number one step. And why do I say that? Because what's the saying? What do you do when you're scared to do something? Do it anyway. For me, that's what I tell my student athletes. Get started. Do it anyway. Do it scared. That's a saying too. Do it scared. But you got to get started. If you're interested in NIL, you have to do something. Because, and I honestly feel like with everybody, whether you're a student athlete, whether you're just, somebody launching a business, you might be trying to find a new job, whatever, um, the step of moving forward or taking that first step is always the scariest one. And I feel like it's always the most paralyzing one at that. But you got to get started. You have to move forward. You have to try. Like, you got to do something, because you're going to stay still. You're not going to make any progress. You're not going to see whether it works or it doesn't work if you do not get started. And I'll just say, okay, get started. Well, what does that mean? How do I do that? Practical tip. Start posting on social media. And you're probably already doing that now. Start posting on social media. That's a starter, right? Because you're probably already doing it and you don't have a direction. But now you know why you're posting for NIL. Now you know why you're posting. You're posting for NIL. You're posting to build your NIL brand or your personal brand. Okay, I start posting, but what do I post? A good starting point is to post yourself as an athlete. Because that's already an established brand that you have. You're already established as an athlete. So post yourself as an athlete. Whether that means like posting pictures of yourself, posting pictures of you at practice, posting like game day pictures, posting, you might be going to get new gear. I mean, there's a plethora of things that you can post, but post yourself as an athlete. That's where you start. Half the battle, though, is getting started. Half the battle is getting started. And I'll even use myself as an example, right? It took me a really long time to really like start to put myself out there as somebody that does sports law, but also like somebody that wants to specifically help student athletes. And I honestly feel like NIL is what pushed me to do it. NIL was what pushed me to really put myself out there. And I was in my mind thinking like, well, what if they don't receive what I say? I normally do this type of law. I normally, like, people know me for this. What if people don't listen to me? What if people don't, take my advice? What if they say I don't know what I'm doing? Like, what if, you know what I mean? Like, there's all this self-defeating talk that was in my head. And even I was telling my business coaches too, and they were just like, girl, are you serious? And it took me a while to even like get out of that talk. And then I just got annoyed with myself. Because I know who I am, I know what I offer, and I know like the greatness that's within me. And you get sick of yourself. And I got sick of myself. I got sick of myself acting like I was gonna be all in, and I wasn't putting the time and the effort into it. Or I was allowing my imposter syndrome to keep me from moving forward. I was at the end of the day, I was really making it excuses for why people were going to receive, like, the making an excuse of why I wasn't going to bless other people. But it was about me. Can y'all imagine that? Like, if you're not taking the first step to pursuing your purpose, it's really like you're really denying people of the blessings that you have for them. Really, that's it's the truth. It is the truth. But I use myself for an example because all of us are battling something that stops us from moving forward. But we can't allow that to keep us from pursuing our purpose. So that's all. That's all. Number one tip, get started. It's really that simple. Get started. Start posting. Athletes, student athletes, start posting. If you don't know what to post, start posting yourself as an athlete. Especially if you're in high school and you're in a state where you can't do NIL, it can be used as a recruiting tool. It can be used as a very powerful recruiting tool if you use it the right way. Follow me on social media for sure. Because that's where people get like a lot of the tea from me on social media. So follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook for sure.